Alright, so now we're going to talk about combinations. So a combination of items occurs when the items are selected from the same group and no item is used more than once, and the order makes no difference, or order doesn't matter, or order isn't important. So this is the big difference between permutations and combinations. So some examples of combination problems would be toppings on a pizza. For instance, it doesn't matter in what order you get, say, 3 toppings: pepperoni, sausage, bell peppers, as long as those items are on the pizza. Whereas if we were running a race, the order that the people place is important. So that's the big difference. So we'll talk about that, selecting members of a committee, being dealt or drawing cards from a deck of standard deck of cards, and then lottery questions are also combinations. So we'll just jump into it. We have a combination formula. The number of possible combinations if R items are taken from N items is NCR, and there's the formula. Of course, N factorial, that was numbers such that this operation, you'll multiply all the numbers less than that down to 1. All right, so we'll just start with this example, and what I'll do for you, of course, we can do this in the calculator. So I'm going to do it in the calculator first, give you the steps there, and then I'll show you what happens if we try to do it by hand. And then we'll have a second example we'll talk about after that. All right, so of the 17 possible books, you plan to take 3 with you on vacation. So, of course, what we're looking for is N, which is the larger number, and R is the smaller number. In this case, it works exactly like that. So there's our N, and there's our R. So we can rewrite it if we want. N is 17, R is 3. Okay, so first, I'll use the calculator. So on the calculator, and I'll show you the formula there, and then we could do it by hand with the formula. So I would recommend, since you're required to have the calculator, to use the calculator, and then you could check to make sure you get it right by using the formula by hand. So here are the steps. The first thing we're going to do is type in your N. So type in this case, N is 17. So 17, we're going to do the PRB button. So PRB, in this case we're doing NCR, and then we'll do NCR. And then we've got to type in R. Of course, in this case, R is 3. And so when we type in our calculator, it should look like 17 NCR3, and that is 680. So let's just see what happens with the formula. Here we have 17. So 17, choose 3. 17, choose 3, using the formula, that's 17 factorial, 17 minus 3 factorial, 3 factorial. So you could type that in the calculator just as it is. At the end of the day, you're still probably going to be typing something in the calculator, so I still encourage you just use the calculator for the formula. So let's do this. I think it's safer to do the bottom first. I really think that's going to be a huge number, so I'll just type it in all at once. But you could type in the bottom, get a number, and then do 17 factorial over it. But I'm just going to type it all in case you want to try to do that. So parentheses 17 NPR factorial divided by, I'm going to do parentheses again. Here, parentheses are very important because if you don't use the parentheses, it's going to think you might be doing the 17 over 14 factorial and then multiplying that by 3 factorial. So you want to be careful. So we got 680 again. Good. If I try to do any other steps, like if I tried to clean this up, 17 factorial over 14 factorial, that adds another step. The more steps I add, the more likely it will be that I make a mistake. So if I can knock it out in 1 or 2 steps, maybe that's the best thing. All right, but regardless, we get the same answer. So for example 2, I'm just going to use the calculator here. So an electronics store receives a shipment of 30 calculators. That seems to be an important number. I'm going to underline it. Including 2 that are defective. That seems important. 2 are defective. But 4 of the calculators are going to be selected to be sent to local high school. So in this question, we've got 3 numbers that were given to us. The largest number is 30, the smallest is 2. So I'm inclined to say this is N and this is R. That's not the story. So you have to read the question and kind of pick out what they're asking for. Here it says how many of the selections will contain no defective calculators. So we got to find the number of non-defective calculators. So let's start over. We got 30 calculators. They tell us that 2 are defective. Well, if I want to send no defective calculators, then I probably don't want these defective calculators. So what we're going to do is subtract off those defective guys. So we have 28 non-defective calculators. That's our N. Okay, so N is equal to 28. So N is 28. That was the 2 defectives. The 4 is our R. That's the group we're sending. So what we're looking for is 28C4. And like I said, I'm just going to type it in the calculator. You know the formula works here. So I'm less likely to make a mistake if I just type this in. So it's 28 NCR 4. 2475. All right. So the examples you'll see in the homework are very similar to these. Some will be easy like that. Some will be more complicated. But the important thing is to read the question, read it again, pick out the N and R, and then use that to solve the problem.